Christy Sheets, aged 42, was a very outspoken gun advocate in Houston. She and her husband and their 2 daughters lived in the affluent Houston suburb of Fulshire. Police received emergency calls about a barrage of gunshots from the Sheets residence. When the cops got there, they found both of the Sheets' daughters lying outside on the ground, dead. Christy Sheets was still holding the pistol that she'd shot them with. Officers told her to drop the gun, but she wouldn't, and the police shot her dead. Police reports showed that the deputies had been called out to the Sheets' home on numerous occasions previously, but the sheriffs claimed that they don't know why. Christy Sheets was your typical gun zealot. Like most of her ilk, she never seemed to notice that well over 80% of all white murder victims are killed by other white people. People like Christy Sheets. Also, she never seemed to understand that the majority of Americans who die from firearms are killed by their own guns, whether it's suicide or murder-suicide, like Sheets. The same way most police officers die as the result of suicide, but you won't hear the Blue Lives Matter crowd tell you that either. The white thugs who shot protesters at the Black Lives Matter rally in Minneapolis made videos of themselves bragging about the shooting long before they did it. And Dylan Roof, who had never been harmed by a black person in his life, saw guns as his way of bolstering his own clearly lacking manhood by shooting a church full of unarmed grandmothers. The 2 Sheets' daughters were caught in the crossfire of white-on-white crime, and perhaps if the police had done their jobs and made an arrest all those times that they went out to the Sheets' home, if somebody had perhaps mustered the courage to challenge the white privilege that was driving this woman to fixate on guns, this tragedy might well have been avoided. But white privilege makes it impossible to stop white-on-white crime, because that would depend upon the victims of white-on-white crime admitting that there's a problem and then acting to stop their own from killing their own. Whites are more dispersed than the black community. Blacks live almost exclusively in the inner city, so whereas you always hear about a handful of gang shootings in South Chicago, it needs to be remembered that white people are killing one another in the inner city, in the county, and in the suburbs. Like Christy Sheets did, white-on-white crime is easy for the white media to cover up. Out of sight, out of mind. But as I keep telling the white supremacists, 2,500 dead white people is still more than 2,000 or so dead black ones. Perhaps these white supremacists will now go to Mr. Sheets and Christy's father and tell them about the black murder rate. And then they can tell them that guns are the only way that they can protect themselves from the violent blacks who are just waiting to kill them and rape their white women. And then the white supremacists can tell the Sheets family survivors that blacks commit all the murders in America, that there's a white genocide being perpetrated by blacks and Jews. All the lies the white supremacists have been telling, which have never been challenged until now. And keeping a tally on the stories the white media refuses to tell gives us the picture that we knew was there all along. My hope is that the white community will finally open their eyes, take responsibility for the self-inflicted genocide of white-on-white violence, before another white family slaughters itself in the streets.